ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासति गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we are continuing to read the teachings of Lord Chaitanya by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So this atomic magnitude of the individual living entity is again described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto 16th chapter 11th verse as follows. This is a speech given by one of the four Kumaras known as Sananda on the occasion of performing a great sacrifice. He said, O Supreme Truth, if the living entities were not infinitesimal living sparks of the Supreme Spirit, then each minute spark would have been all-pervading, and there would be no necessity of it being controlled by superior power. But if the constitution of the living entity is accepted as being the minute part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, then automatically he becomes a controlled living entity under supreme energy or power. This is his constitutional position. Therefore, if he remains as he is created in that natural position, he can attain full freedom. As such, if somebody by mistake calculates that his constitutional position is equal to the constitutional position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he becomes contaminated by the doctrine of non-duality, and his efforts in transcendental life are without any effect. The Lord continues his teaching, saying that there are two kinds of living entities. One is called eternally liberated, and other is called eternally conditioned. Out of the eternally conditioned living entities, again, they are divided into two classes, namely the moving and the non-moving entities. Those who cannot move, like trees, for example, are standing in one place, are called non-moving entities. Those who are moving, such as birds and beasts, are called Jangama or moving entities. These moving entities are also divided into three. There are the Tiryak or the birds. Some of them can fly in the sky and swim on the water as well as walk on the land. Besides this Tiryak, there are aquatics and there are animals and human beings who are moving on the land. Out of the many millions and trillions of living entities on the land, the species of human beings are very few. Out of that small quantity of human beings, there are many who are actually without any advancement in spiritual science and are without cleanliness in their habits, without any faith in their existence in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and are simply like animals. They may be deducted from the human society or from the civilized society of human beings. We shall hardly find a few human beings who believe in the scriptures or in the existence of God or in good behavior for the human being. Such believers are known as Aryans, or those who believe in advancing in spiritual life. Out of such persons believing in the scriptures and in the advancement of human civilization, there are two classes of men who are known as the righteous and the unrighteous. Of those who are righteous, most execute fruitive activities. That means they prefer to perform righteous activities in order to derive some good result for sense gratification. Out of many such persons who are engaged in good righteous activities for sense gratification, some of them come to know about the absolute truth, and they are called jnanis, meaning persons who are seeking after the absolute truth, or philosophers, empiric philosophers. Out of many hundreds and thousands of such empirical philosophers, some actually become liberated. The liberation means that theoretically one can understand that a living entity is not made of any of material elements, that he is spirit soul, different from matter. Simply by understanding this doctrine, even theoretically, one may be called mukta or liberated. But actually, a mukta or liberated soul is he who understands his constitutional position as part and parcel, eternal servitor of the Lord. Such liberated souls, if they are engaged with faith and devotion of the service of the Lord, are called Krishna Bhaktas or Krishna conscious persons. The Krishna conscious persons are free from material desires. Those who are liberated theoretically simply know that the living entity is not made of any material element. Although they may be classified amongst the liberated souls, they have desire. They have the desire to become one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such persons are very much attached to the ritual performance of the Vedic injunctions and to righteous activities in order to enjoy material welfare. And even when some of them are out of material enjoyment, they want enjoyment in the spiritual world to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord. And some of them are also desirous of getting the perfection of mystic powers, known as the yoga principles. So long as all these desires are within the heart of a person, he cannot understand the nature of pure devotional service. On account of being agitated by such desires, he is not peaceful. So long as there is any desire for material perfection, he cannot be at peace. The devotees of Lord Krishna are not desirous of material achievement, and as such, they are only peaceful persons within this material world. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 14th chapter, 4th verse, and there as follows: O great sage, out of many millions of liberated persons and persons who have achieved success in mystic yoga powers, one who is completely devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is therefore very peaceful is very rarely to be found. Hare Krishna. So let's just stop here today. So a lot of points are covered in this, right? Just now what we read. First thing first, Srila Prabhupada is clearly making a distinction between the jiva and the super soul. So that is the Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? That we are qualitatively one with the Lord. However, we are very infinitesimal and we are under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can never think that, there are so many Mayavadi philosophers, right? They say that we are actually like the same. We can become like God. We are God and things like that. But that's not the case. Srila Prabhupada clearly explains here that we are, the Nityo Nityanam, Chaitana Chaitananam. So we are just a tiny particle of the Supreme Being, Supreme Lord that we are, and we have literally no control over anything, and we are under the control of the Supreme Lord. So that's a very clear distinction between Jiva and Super Soul. That the next topic, are you going to say something, Prabhu? Okay, after that, the next topic, what is clearly is being explained is that, can you imagine how fortunate we are? I think that's what the clearly point stands out, because Prabhupada is explaining about the different living entities, that there are moving and unmovable entities. And then after that, in moving also, there are three kinds. So once they fly, then they're on the land and all that. But again, human beings are way superior than any other living being. So that itself, we got the human life. That itself is a big deal. From there, then again, Prabhupada is explaining how many people even know about spirituality, how many people even know about cleanliness and things like that, right? So again, we have come to a higher level. From out of that also, how many people are focusing on Vedic scriptures? So then, even if people are focusing on Vedic scriptures, how many people are really focusing on pure devotional service? Because otherwise, usually people are focusing on their own benefit. And we can attest to that, right? Because all along, when we have been doing in our traditional spiritual form, wherever people go do, it's always like a transaction. I will do this certain prayer, certain homa, whatever, just so I have X, Y, and Z. So always it has been a transactional relationship with the God, with the Supreme Lord. However, when we come to Krishna consciousness, then that's where we learn that there is something beyond all of this that is pure devotional service, where it is Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Uttama. We are not seeking liberation. We are not seeking any material benefits, but rather, although we are not there yet, but at least we know that the focus should be on the pleasure of Krishna, and all our activities, our consciousness, and everything should be in a way where we are focusing so much on Krishna. And I remember how Rumapad Swami also clearly explained that the two-pocket program is not the one we have. Something for me, something for Krishna. There is no balance. We are ultimately, everything is dedicated to Krishna. That's how the consciousness should be. And as I said earlier, that we are not there yet. The purity is not there, but at least we know what's the goal, and then we strive towards it. So one day, hopefully, we can get to that point. With that, I would like to end. And